Life.
Hey loves, I'm stopping by really quickly just to let you guys know about my new merchandise that I recently put out. You guys asked and I delivered. You can now pick up your Pick Me Nation t-shirts, you guys. I also have Winter is Here merchandise. And I also have Who You Want, Gotta Want You t-shirts as well. So make sure you go and support. It is the holiday times. Definitely go pick up a shirt or a mug for your mother, your fathers, your sisters, brothers, your husband, wife. Make sure you go and support. I have those shirts available now. What up, YouTube? It's your girl Dee Dee. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm back with another reaction video. Now, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about Jeannie Mai. So basically, Jeannie Mai has been talking about, where she's at following the divorce between her and Jeezy. She's been speaking out on it. And honestly, I just feel like Jeannie Mai is dealing with the repercussions of that divorce. I think she's come to the conclusion that, Jeezy left her because he refused to put up with her BS. I really do think that that is the case. But I think a lot of times when this happens, these women are in a bit of a shock because they can't fathom the idea that a man would actually leave them. Because if you really think about it, a lot of women in divorces are the ones who walk away. Women are the ones who typically leave the relationships. So when you see a man who walks away after a short period of time, you automatically, if you're thinking logically, you automatically think that, hey, the problem had to be the woman. Now, I think when it comes to relationships, it takes two. Nobody's perfect in any situation, but I think there is something to look at. We can't always shift the blame one way or the other, but when there are obvious signs of issues, we can't ignore that, especially when it relates to the women in the situation. And that's what tends to happen. People tend to look over the fault of the women, look over the misdeeds done by the women, and they tend to focus on the men and put all the blame on them. But when in a lot of these cases, it's not always the men. There are women who contribute to relationships negatively. And so that has to be pointed out as well. And in this particular video that I'm going to play, it kind of points to what could have been some issues in the relationship and why Jeezy decided to walk away. So we're going to hop right into the video. But before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. It is free to subscribe, share and like the video, and turn on that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. All right. So we're going to hop into the video. Shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. He posted this video. And I want to just share it because he made a lot of good points in here. And I want to just point that out. So we're going to hop into the video. Let's get into it. Here we go.
I learned I was a great husband.
Jeannie Mai took a 2-year hiatus from creating content on YouTube. And of course, those 2 years she was going through the divorce, going through courts, child custody agreements, and everything else. And as we know, her divorce from Jeezy, it got ugly. But over the last 2 weeks, Jeannie Mai has returned to creating content for her almost 800,000 followers on YouTube. The first video was 2 weeks ago. It was entitled, It's Been a While. But the newest video is what I'm concerned with. Divorced, 46, single, with a toddler.
I notice whenever anybody asks me, are you married? Or are you single? Or how old are you? Or any of these labels that people tend to ask you about when it comes to your status, your age. I always say it so slowly because I'm still adjusting to however the world labels me.
Now, this particular video is interesting because Jeannie Mai is trying to go the same route as Tia Mowry, pretty much painting to her audience that she's sad, she was the victim in the relationship, and she's trying to build somewhat of a rapport from other women who are going through this sort of thing in their life. And again, she's showing some level of vulnerability because, hey, if she's 46 and can go through this, then certainly other women can do it too. And I believe that.
Yeah. And, it is the same type of rhetoric that you hear from these women. Because they want to get sympathy points from other women, and they do get them, by the way. They do. Other women fall right into it because they want to women automatically kind of gear towards women in these situations. They always try to find the fault in the man before, looking at the entire situation. So women know how to pander to other women. You know how to get the sympathy of other women if that's what you're going for. And so you want these women to feel sorry for you and make it seem like, oh, he was the problem and this is why this ended. But the difference in this case with Jeannie Mai is the fact that he left her. She didn't leave him. Usually when the women leave, women automatically say, oh, what did he do? But when the man leave, you don't automatically get that response. Now, while I saw some of those responses, you don't normally get that because women automatically jump to the defense of the women without having any information of what happened, whether it was her fault or not. And women know that. So if they get sympathy from women, you can continue to have a following and people to be on your side. And a lot of women need that because that helps them to flourish. Having people empathize with you and sympathize you can either build or break your brand. And if you have women who support you and they feel like you've been done dirty, they are more inclined to help and support you. So this is why you have to, it's the same way that if a woman cheated on her man, blatantly cheated on him, that might be a turnoff for a lot of women. Even though there'll still be some women who still try to find the fault in the man, a lot of women innately don't like cheating. So if you just come out blatantly cheating, you said you cheated on him and he did nothing, he didn't cheat on you and he didn't do anything to you, then they'll look at that with the side eye and you might lose a little bit of support. But if you have every woman just on your side feeling sorry for you, then you have all the support in the world, even if you were wrong. You know what I mean? Let's continue.
This strategy will definitely lead to other opportunities for Jeannie Mai in the future. But then something else happened simultaneously. The recently retired Bishop T.D. Jakes has started his own podcast called The Next Chapter Pod. And of course, everybody's doing podcasts now, and so is now T.D. Jakes. It's actually a new podcast that has premiered from the last month. And guess who was on the podcast? Jeezy. And flat out, Jeezy was asked about his previous relationship with Jeannie Mai.
What did you learn from it?
I learned I was a great husband. I can't be. I got a beautiful daughter out of a situation, so there's no regrets there. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned that there's things that I continue to work on. I learned about my preferences for things, the type of space that I need, the type of moments that I need to decompress about certain things, and this just unselfish nature, that I was selfish in my prior life. And I think just going forward in life, it just taught me how to give someone else grace and actually listen to understand rather than just to listen to reply.
So this is interesting because Jeezy talks about, number one, hey, I felt that I was a good husband, great husband. Didn't say he was perfect, but he felt that he was great. And then he starts talking about something that I felt was really, really important and showed a lot of signs of maturity. He started to talk about the things that he needed to work on. He needs to work on certain things, how to decompress, and what he has preferences for. I'll get on to the rest of that later, but he starts talking about something.
And I will say this real quick, that does show some type of growth. It doesn't mean he's perfect, but it shows growth, because one thing we don't see when a lot of women tend to walk away from relationships, they don't do that. They typically talk about how they could do better and how they, it's all pointed to the man holding them back or, causing problems and he's the problem and you had to walk away from the problem and you could do better without him, and how, they were the problem. You never really hear women walk away and say, you know what, I was the problem in the relationship. I didn't know what I was doing, or whatever the situation may have been. You don't hear women owning that publicly. You don't hear them saying, things that they could work on or they could have worked on better, or it's never any open acknowledgement on their parts. It's always alluded to that the man was the problem, and almost as if they were perfect in a relationship and they had no flaws or no faults or anything, because they don't say that and they don't come across that way because they don't want you to know that. But I think it shows a lot of growth if you are able to come out and say, hey, he might get some backlash for him saying that he think he was a great husband, but because that could be subjective depending on how the other person views it. But at least he acknowledged some areas where he could grow, and we don't hear that from women. Women don't ever acknowledge where they can grow and where they messed up and what they could do better in the next relationship. And I think that says a lot. Let's continue.
That is needed for every man in a successful relationship or in successful communities. Unselfish nature. This is, to me, the biggest sign of growth for any man, because the more men that we have with unselfish nature, the better the world is. Okay. Men are builders. That takes a level of sacrifice. And he also talked about that he was selfish in his prior life. All right. So before he was selfish, but being married, it taught him that he needed to change that about him. It taught him how to give somebody else grace. Okay. That means that somebody else makes a mistake, understand that, hey, listen, that person is having a bad day or that person is doing whatever. No need to be like, oh, who the hell are you talking to? No, he understood how to lose some battles, how to win some battles, and understood what was worth responding to and what wasn't. And then he also says something that's important. He understood how to listen to understand versus listening to reply. These are all things that middle-aged men, 40 and up, 35 and up, this is the difference between most men at 35, 45, 50 than where you were 25, 30. Certain levels of growth, right? But guess what? You had some people who had a problem with that.
The next thing that he says is that I have things that I continue to work on, which sounds to me like he's avoiding taking accountability. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wording does matter. And it sounds to me like he's trying to say that he's actively working on things, not that during the marriage, he had things that he needed to work on. The third thing that he says is that he has preferences for things. Aren't you supposed to know about your preferences before you sign up to get married to somebody?
This lady says, well, she feels like Jeezy isn't taking any accountability. And all of a sudden he has a preference for things. He should have found about that when he got married. All right. So this is something that I want to address because it's very, very important, because we have heard Jeannie Mai in the past say this.
I have a really hot temper. Not a lot of people know this, but it's just something in my family. I've seen it in my grandmother. Saw it in my grandfather, to my grandmother, to my mom, to my aunts, to me, right? But I didn't notice it in myself until I was with Jeezy.
Interesting. You didn't notice in your previous marriage?
No, because it has to do with the type of relationship you have and the type of respect you have for that person to mirror things back to you, where you actually would stop you in your tracks and evaluate.
Okay, so the thing that I noticed in this, this clip of Jeannie Mai, when she said that, was when she said she didn't notice in her previous marriage, is because she said out of her own mouth that it took a level of respect for a person, and for a person to have to mirror that back to you. And what I gather from that is with her previous marriage, her husband allowed it. You know what I'm saying? He allowed that behavior. I really think she noticed it. I think she noticed what was happening, but I think he allowed that behavior to proceed. And when she got with Jeezy, he was like, nah, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to nip this in the bud. She said it. He said, listen, I'm not, you can't talk to me like that. You're not going to talk to me like that. I won't accept it. See, that's the thing. When you're dealing with a man who has worked on himself, a man who's decided that, hey, I'm not going to allow you to just talk to me in any kind of way or treat me in any kind of way, then it's going to be pushback. Because even though she knows he won't allow it, it's going to cause tension in a relationship, because she's used to doing what she wants to do and getting away with it. And when you with a person who has standards, who has morals and values, and who won't allow that, you just can't do what you want. So now it's going to cause a problem. And that's what exactly seems to have happened in that relationship. You don't, as much as women say they want a man, a leader, a man who is emotionally intelligent, a man who has his stuff together, you don't want that when it comes to you. When y'all disagree, when he doesn't allow you to do anything that you want to do, then it's going to be a problem for you. Then you won't, this is how you end up divorcing. It's because he's not going to put up with your BS. He's not going to put up with your hot temper, as she stated she had. So he's not going to deal with that. So I'm not surprised that the man walked away. And this is what men should do. I don't think look, when you're in a relationship with a person, it's about growth and you guys growing together. You can't continue with these selfish ways, and you can't go into a relationship thinking that it's all about you and you're going to have your way and that's just it. No, you have to consider the other person. And you could definitely see that could have potentially been a part of the problem. And that's why they're not together. That's why he walked away. And as it relates to him speaking on the things that he learned in a relationship. Listen, when you are single, there are things you learn as a single person, and there's ways that you can grow by being single. But when you are married, there's a whole set of new things that you have to learn, and that you have to, you have to grow in the marriage too, because now you're doing it with another person. So you do have to have consideration for the other person as much as they have to have consideration for you. You have to understand each other and work together. That's a lot different than when you're by yourself. When you're by yourself, you're only accountable for you. When you're dealing with somebody else, now you have to be accountable for them as much as they have to be accountable for you. And that takes on a different perspective. And I think when you're single, you don't realize that. But once you're married, those are things that you learn. So you have to learn how to understand that person's feelings and as well as yours, and compromise and work together and learn and grow together. It's not about you just working on yourself singularly, but when you get together with somebody, you have to work on your issues together. And if you're not willing and open to do that, and it's all about you and it's a selfish nature, then you're going to butt heads. It's going to be a problem. So I think Jeezy did what was necessary for him in this situation. I think he didn't want her to pull him back. This is just my opinion. She even said she had a hot temper that she didn't realize she had until he showed it to her and made her realize, hold on, wait a minute, baby, pump your brakes. I'm not going to deal with that. And she couldn't handle it. She couldn't handle it. And now she's going to reflect on all of this. And if she ever gets in another relationship, she's definitely going to have to work on that. She's definitely going to have to learn the same things that she didn't learn in the previous relationships. You're going to have to learn how to cooperate with the person. That is not just about you. You cannot be selfish in a relationship because it does not work. So listen, that's just my take on it. That's my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. Y'all chime in. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.
DeeDeesReactions.